Hello there, and welcome to a very brief Let's Play for the Last Federation. I'm just going to be showing, well, first of all, this is auto-resolve here. For those who don't know this feature exists, you can skip through battles if you're the sort who is not interested in playing the non-strategy game portions of it, if you're not interested in the tactics portions. At any rate, the main portion of this Let's Play is just going to be about the newly revised missions for delivering spacefaring tech. They start out very easy, relatively speaking, and then get kind of insane. So right now, what I've done, if you noticed just a second ago, I cranked up my engine power to full. That's that little yellow bar on the far left side of the screen. My firepower is at nothing. So that was just kind of let's walk to the exit. Oh, wow, that was so easy. It doesn't stay that way, and, it's kind of a luck of the draw if that happens at all. It gets, like I said, pretty insane in a bit. So here again, things aren't too bad. Basically, all the races that are already spacefaring don't want you to deliver spacefaring tech to the ones that aren't. So they're trying to block you. If any of the shots from these ships touch you, then they wake up and start coming after you. Your goal is to kind of make it through more or less like a maze. So far, so easy because there's only been a couple of races involved at all. So no big deal. Each race has their own unique firing pattern for their kind of seeker bullets, and then if their probes get alerted, for one thing, you get a negative influence penalty with that race, meaning they like you a lot less, and for another, that particular probe starts coming after you. So it's fairly important not to get touched. Not really because they're going to destroy your ship, at least not on the difficulty level that I'm playing on, which is standard. But, whoops. So there, I've accidentally gotten touched. So now, first priority is get away. Oh man, I've got two. So first priority is get away from the main body of other probes. Then I've just upped my weapons power there, and it's time to actually start fighting these guys so that I can then navigate the maze again. If I stay inside the main body of other probes for too long, then these guys will start, they'll either tear me to shreds, or I'll wind up accidentally shooting the other probes with my minigun there and waking them up. Alright, so there's the two that I woke up that are both dead now. Those were both Accusation. So I've reaped some dislike out of the Accustions there. The one with the curves is an Andor one. You can always hover over them to see, what's what. And the purple ones are Thraxian. They're all color-coded as well as being distinct in style. And so the little exit point there is way up in the north, and this is a pretty nasty blockade that I'm facing here at the moment. This is the sort of thing that you could retreat from and just say, well, I'm going to take the influence penalty. Man, that was stupid. I just flew right into that Thraxian line. If I had slightly more patience, I could have just gone around. But now, so I've woken up one of the Thraxian ones, and it's coming after me. You see those weavy lines, that's the Thraxians coming after me. So crank back up the power and a little bit less speed. Let's get rid of that guy as quick as possible. Boy, we took more damage. I mean, look, we're down into our hull now. And this is on normal mode. So now it's time to so I'm gonna crank up the combat speed to double normal so that we can have quicker turns go by. And that doesn't actually affect anything except how fast each turn plays out. So it doesn't have any mechanical difference on what's going on, but it lets us move through each turn faster, and thus the same number of turns take less time. So as you can see here, I'm kind of riding the gap at this point between all of the ships that are firing these patterns. I'm going to try not to get hit by any of them as I make my way ever closer to that exit point. They're starting to get me fenced in here, and the Thraxians, the influence penalty with them is comparably low to most, and I've just tripped them, so getting out of there is not too big a deal. So you can see I didn't lose much influence with the Thraxians or the Andors, but I lost a ton with the Acutians. The Acutians just really get pissed off when I give other races spacefaring tech. Part of that is because the Acutians were the first race, the race that I started with, and the race that you start with has extra strong feelings against you whenever anything happens that causes negative feelings. It's doubled. So, gosh, I've already flown into a Thraxian thing. This is one of those situations where you just can't get something for nothing at this point. You get a bunch of influence with the race every time that you give them spacefaring tech, and you can't, past a certain point, you can't just get that without gaining negative influence with somebody else. So, got some negative influence with the Andors and the Thraxians there, not too much really, so not too big a deal. A bunch with the Acutians again. Dang it, I don't want that to continue happening. So I'm going to really try and avoid the Acutian shots. The Thraxians are good ones to aim for if I'm going to just brute force my way through like I just did. And once you hit this point, it's really kind of inadvisable most of the time to try and give spacefaring tech to everybody, because you're going to take a net loss on influence unless you're just super skilled, super patient, and super lucky in terms of navigating the mazes. There's a sweet spot of maybe 4, maybe 5 spacefaring delivery missions that you can give before the mazes just become so impenetrable that part of navigating the maze becomes which ships am I going to alert. And so at that point you go, okay, well, I'm going to alert as few of the ships as possible, but which ones can I alert to make it through with the least total ships alerted and the least total loss of influence, which that might mean alerting more ships actually, but of the appropriate races, like say the Thraxians. So the Skylaxians are right there north of me, and trying to avoid them because as far as I can recall I'm in pretty good standing with them in the main. So the Thraxians I care less about right now because I'm losing very little influence with them every time I alert them. Hey, and it looks like there might be an opening here for me to make it to the exit without alerting anybody out. Almost. So I lost some with the Borines and then very little with the Thraxians. So that was a successful navigation of a maze. You don't get something for nothing with the missions once you're to this point. We're now on our, I believe, 6th race total that's going to have spacefaring tech, and we're to the point where it's just you don't get something for nothing. The Peltians have a really unique pattern here that gives these little tight beams. That's another thing to actually factor in terms of the order at which you give races spacefaring tech. If you're going to give a bunch of them tech, giving it to the Peltians earlier on in actually would make things a little bit more straightforward because their pattern is easier. The Thraxians, and in particular the Acutians, have really difficult patterns to dodge, as you can see. I'm just kind of watching the patterns here and seeing if there's any openings. And I'm kind of thinking maybe there's not, so maybe I'll just make a run for it, and boom. I think that was minimal casualties. Ooh, that's not so good. The influence with the Acutians is just really hitting rock bottom. in a real game, I wouldn't actually push it this far, but this is a let's play about, how to deal with these particular this particular mode of the delivery of spacefaring tech. So that's what we're doing. Now the burlesques are out. You can see they're really nasty in their patterns as well. Oh man, I should have just gone for it. I alerted too. Whew. Well, I could have alerted slightly less if I had gone straight through, but such is life. I had a gap and I ran for it, and I should have just committed and gone all the way. As it turns out, not too shabby overall. I wouldn't do this in a real game, but for illustrative purposes, this is pretty good.